Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Okay. We are hanging out here. So, I am working today on character design. That's what we're doing. Good morning, Brent. And so, we are working on the character design sheets, and we have to finish. So, the first one's always kind of a pain in the butt, because you got to go through and you got to figure stuff out and things. And so we've got to kind of do that. We're going to be dinking around with Chang's character design sheet, and we'll get that kind of squared away. And I'm working on trying to color code it. And I will warn people ahead of time, there's plausibility of maybe like some flashes of nudity. I hope not, but hey, I have covered the important parts, but it's a character design sheet. And so sometimes things happen. Okay. I will put that in. I'll add a delay to it. I wanted to go in and do a tweak to it anyway, so I'll just add a delay to the front of it. Like I don't know, maybe 1 minute, 60 seconds of. Wonder if I can get a countdown, like an animation countdown, and like stick it on there so it just says starting in and then counts down. Because I was actually thinking my opening credits have gotten so short now at this point in time that I don't have enough time to still continue turning on things. I am still kind of. Yeah, let's see if I can't find that real quick here. Let's see. Countdown video. Download. Because I don't want to manually make it. That seems like that's a rough thing, right? Yeah, see, this has got a countdown timer. That's only got 10 seconds, though. Kind of cute. Some of these are cool. This one says NFT. That one says Bitcoin. Not sure what to think about all of that, but okay. Anyway, here we go. So we are working, and you'll notice I have put black bars over our dear Chang's delicate parts so that Facebook won't ban me. Okay, so I want to take this, and I'm actually going to cut it and paste it because we want to move it. I feel like I want to move it to right here because I'm going to put more information here. But I got all of the uniforms in, so we now know like what all the uniforms look like. And we've got like critical things like the Kittiwake patch and things like that. So I over here on my, it's kind of hard to see boobies. No boobies. On here, I put a timeline on here of all of these things. And so, which puts things in real time and in internal storyline time. Chang was born in the year 6/184. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in so that this will be permanently in here. I now have a mathematical thing that allows me to convert real years to fake years or to internal story years, because this is really 2543 when she was born. Right? Yeah, the math on this is sort of wild because you've got to, let's see, what was the math on this? It was to convert from a year to a G year, because these are called G years, galactic years. You take the year, and then you multiply it by 365.25, and then divide by 150.015, and then you add 6.78 because there's an adjustment to it. So it has to be adjusted. And that's going in one way. Oh, Colton's going to join us after breakfast. So, and she was born on, and I actually have this information now too. I'm putting everything in this sketchbook because that way I can find it because I know it's here somewhere. All right. Because she was born on Xing Chao. Because she's Kuo Bai. She's ethnic Chinese. And we will have to make these. I'm writing all this stuff down because now I've got to figure out all of the things that are part of the story. And we need to come up with another Chinese sounding name. So let's go on ahead because we got to come up with the district she was born in. So we'll bring up our randomizer. Because she was born in a district. Randomizer. Randomizer. Places and locations. No, it's real names. Chinese names. Hu Dao. Oh, wow. Wow. Nah. I like the. Born in District 12. You know, wouldn't be a surprise. We'll make the big dome here. I'm drawing the big dome in. And I'm just putting districts in. And really all I'm doing is just drawing a bunch of lines because you know how districts work. It's like weird logic that you understand somewhat's going on, but really nobody gets the logic. So I'll just put all these districts in. And so now what I've done is, here is on this side is the map of the area, the colony on the planet, and you can see all these different domes. And then the key dome for us is this dome, which I have now drawn over here as, and I just drew in some random districts, and we're just going to name all of them. I wonder what capital in Chinese. Daisha. I guess that makes sense. Daisha. Right. Summer overpass right here. This is to the biodome. We'll call this, I'm writing in blue, the Wu district. Because she wasn't born in that. Right. Brent, you're talking to yourself. Kunchi. You're definitely talking to yourself now. Wonder if I can get like places and locations like city and towns. Oh yeah, there we go. Like, can we get Asian towns? So West Asian towns. Oh, you know what? I appreciate that. Is that disabled? Let's see. That might be part of our problem. I didn't know that was disabled. Can I customize the channel? Content settings, advanced settings. Permissions, community, moderators is a restream bot. Oh, I can block certain words. That's horribly useful. Brent's talking to himself again. No, he's getting me viewers. Is what he's after now. Southeast Asian? I like Ben Fon. Of all the things I just well, let's see what you sent me, shall we? Chat is disabled for this stream. Why is chat disabled for my stream? Okay, well, because it doesn't need to be disabled. I don't have any problems with it. Nobody's ever on it. That explains why nobody ever talks to me on YouTube. Good morning, Colton. No, I use Restream. Well, I'll keep looking for. Guangdong. Choiga. All right. Okay, so she was born in the Huatao. There we go. So we have added the pertinent data about her ethnicity and stuff like that, because a lot of Unity citizens do not have a specific ethnicity. They're just hodgepodge and mutts. But this was a specific colony that was very much ethnic Chinese, and they intended to try to control that, and it fell apart. which, by the way, is not a statement about China or Chinese people or anything. It's just, I literally rolled dice to come up with an ethnicity that decided to be stupid and weird. And it came up ethnic Chinese. So it's not, I legitimately did not intend this to be, some statement. There's no statement on this one. There's a lot of statements in my story. This is not one of them. So I'm going to do this real quick so that I can do this, so that I can do this, so that I can do this, I can do this. Also, I can smish all these things together. Okay. So I feel like we have come up with a pretty solid sort of setup here. If you're whoop booming me here, okay. Dashboard. See comments 0. Yeah, I've got no comments on anything. Are you messaging me on Facebook? Doing? Nope. Exactly. Ian and I have been talking about, my buddy Ian is a model builder. It's all good. Okay, so I'll try to dink with YouTube and see if I can't get comments in there, but I'm noticing that I haven't had comments enabled since the very beginning. So this may be a thing that I have to go back and fuss with and stuff. So we'll have to see. I don't know. It's the thing. So it's all good. All right. Moving along here, we have Li Chang, who is a Unity human ethnic Quo Bai, which is the Chinese subgroup. She was born galactic year 6/184, which is 2543, in the Huao Dao district, Huao Dao, in Xingqiao Dome and Lycat. Lycat's the name of the planet. And of course, the dome is right. Yeah, it's interesting that I'm completely blocked and I don't know how in the world to figure that out. Like I've got 11 subscribers out here. I just feel like I've got a lot of random videos that I uploaded, didn't I? Oh man. Okay. Okay. Let's go over here and work on the color codes because we need to do those next. Because whatever we do here has to be done. This is the same color as this. When did they do this? Yeah, like totally. It's the same color. Why did I do this to myself? Why do I do this to myself? Yeah, back to Chang. We got to fix this. Make sure she's up and running. So anyway, I am extremely happy with all three of these uniforms. They look really good. They're solid. There's nothing like out of the ordinary for them. I think they're really nice. I think that they must really hate that formal dress because that color is way up there. Like right here. It's like serious. So they must really hate that color. Anyway, all righty. Also, I think that the big change that we're making here is instead of having a circle, I think I'm going for a dotted line. This is much more in line with sort of Star Trek, but also it's really hard to put something all the way around without just putting circles all around. At which time you're pretty much just putting dots all the way around it anyway. Might as well make it a hashed line. So I'm going to go for that, and that's part of it. And you can actually see it over here on the formal. So. And we'll someday, you and me, Brent, we're gonna have to hammer out what all these guys mean, um, so that we can kind of get that squared away too. Because we'll have to figure out what all of her awards are at some point because somebody's going to ask. But it's not critical to do right now, so we won't. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna duplicate this layer, and we're gonna take this guy, and we're going to. What if we tone it in color? There we go. So we've toned this. That's what we've done. And this is rendering the picture out in zipitones, which is what manga will ultimately end up looking like in the end. This is the style of which I do all of these things. And you can see what it really is a bunch of dots that have been rendered in here. And we've got different scales of dots that indicate different kinds of gray. And when zoomed all the way out, it makes for, let's get rid of the moire there. Wow, that's a lot of moire. At a certain spot here, you can see that it implies black and white without it being black and white. And when you look at manga, and we'll get some manga right here. If you take a look at the manga that we've got here, like in this instance, we have Macross, and I will flip to ring camera so that we can talk about this. If you look at, of course, this is one of my absolute favorite mangas of all time, Macross. If you look in here and you just look at the artwork inside here, what you can see if you get close enough, and we may not be able to actually see it, is it's the same thing. It's a bunch of very, very, rough dots that are put in there, right? And that's what we're mimicking at this point in time, is this effect. The wonderful thing about Clip Studio Paint is it is literally a button, which makes sense as Clip Studio Paint was designed for making manga. So the fact that there is a button that so zip tone's the last spot. We don't want to zip a tone before doing anything else, because if we put anything on here at this point, and actually I have no idea whether this works or not. Let's find out. What happens if I were to add to this at the moment, because it's in a mode over here. If you look on this side, it's in zipatone mode. So what would occur if I were to zoom in and take a pen and go into a color and say paint? Oh yeah, check it. It retains the zipatone mode and live updates in zipatone. I would find that somewhat maddening. Now she's like Peter Pants or something. I'd find that particularly maddening, but it would work. Who knew? Did you knew? I didn't knew. Okay. So now what we need to do is a little bit of math because we're set for 60 LPI. So manga zipatone LPI. We need to figure out what is the LPI for manga zipatone. So amiten is the name of the zippy tones. Okay. Because we need to discern what the size is for print. Because, and I'll tell you why, when we deal with that is a terribly good question, Ghost Hand. Because I believe I put her at like 1.6 meters, 160 centimeters. That's not right. Let's see. Yeah, 100. I feel like she was 100. Well, no, she should probably be about 148 to 150. So 1.5. That's what I was thinking too, is 1.5, 1.5 meters tall. So that's my thought, 150 centimeters. And in fact, that's probably what we should put her in at. And we shouldn't put that there because that's on that level, and we don't want that on that level. But we can say and she shouldn't be more than about 45 kilos at max. Right? I mean, like, that sounds about right. Yeah, so 50 kilos. Let's do 50 kilos because that seems about right. Yes, so let's put her at 50 kilos. Hey, you know what I discovered? There are hotkeys for Restream. I didn't know that. So there we go. We just found the hotkeys. There we go. So we'll call her 150 centimeters, 50 kilograms. Yeah, she's very small. She's part of an ethnic group that would have restricted height and restricted weight and restricted all kinds of stuff. So she's not big. And that was actually intentional. When I originally made Captain Cochrane, we had the same thing going for her. She was small as well, intentionally, because the malnutrition. when I originally created her, I was like, what would be the opposite of Captain Kirk? You know, Captain Kirk's a big, strong man. And so I was going to do the opposite of Captain Kirk and have a little, short, skinny woman to sort of illustrate you can have both captains and work just fine. That was the original design behind Cochrane. Since Li Chang is pretty much Cochrane, just without her name, and all other aspects are the same, then we can go for height 150. And that's actually good, because I think actually we should go back to, at some point in time, go back to what's its Daz Studio and make sure that the maquettes are that way. And the reason we do that is also because when you use the maquettes, one of the other wonderful things about using the maquettes is that I can make sure that when Chang is way on the other side of the bridge, she's still the same height compared to the chairs and consoles and things like that. And she doesn't change size, you know, not as cool as it should be. All right. So looking at our zipatones, what I really want to do is kind of clarify some of these zipatones. And we're trying to figure this out because, like, I'm getting all kinds of trash in there, aren't I? Ugh. Malnutrition is a hell of a drug. Okay. What is the zip tone? So part of the problem is okay, so let's discuss dangling from the ground. He's just like, yay. I feel like originally, in my original design for her, we had a we had like people like leaning on her and stuff, because some of them were really, really tall. But that was the other thing. Bennett is sort of her foil as a character. So Bennett is literally the opposite of everything that Chang is. So Bennett's really tall. Like, she's 2 meters, you know, like tall, really tall. And she's augmented. So she's very heavy, coming in at something like, 170 kilos or something like that, because she's got metal arms and metal legs. She's augmented. So she's huge in lots of different ways. So picking up Chang and just walking off with Chang is not an uncommon thing for Bennett to do. And since Bennett started her military career as a normal human and then had an accident that made her different, if you will, her lack of decorum, military decorum, actually is appropriate, because the military doesn't know what to do about having somebody who was very good at decorum and then sort of lost it halfway through. So Bennett is kind of irascible. She's funny and says things out of turn and isn't always appropriate and stuff like that. As a character, it makes for the ability to add somebody like Jane or Mal or Kaylee from Firefly into something like Star Trek, where you have everybody is prim and proper and we're all real good soldiers and nobody says anything out of turn. It allows that ability. So that's where we are with that character, and that's where we're kind of going. Now, what I need to figure out is she is 150 centimeters, 50 kilograms. What were we doing? We were trying to figure out what the final LPT is for things. Because, and I'll show you why. If we are to, I keep saying I'll show you why, and then I don't. Let's open as a side note here, because I have actually brought up, I've got pages of Macross. It just takes it a second because my computer needs to download it from the web, which that's not running. Let's try this again. My computer rebooted. So now we've got to reference Macross the manga. There we go. This will load a little bit faster. So let's take a very heavy page. Something with a lot of zipatone in it. Like you. It took forever to load. Open with Clip Studio Paint. Okay. So here we go with a page from Macross the manga. When we this is a lousy page because you can't even see the zipatone. Okay, let's get something a little bit bigger. I should sort by size. Because then the large ones would be these first ones. I think this is the only one that's big enough for me to analyze, which is the whole point. There we go. So if you look at this, we can zoom in and you can see the zipatone in here, right? We can kind of see where we've got the dots and stuff like that. So the question really is, this page, of course, I don't know why I put it back. I shouldn't have put it back. This page is this sized. So we're, this big. I should get a ruler. And actually, a ruler would probably help us all the way across the board. Right? So let's get a ruler. Because our size on this one is, the pages are about 12 and a half centimeters wide. And they're 18 centimeters long. It's kind of hard to tell because of the jacket, but that when we look at it like a medium tone, so they're 12 by 18 in centimeters, which is fine. But it does mean that when we get to the stage where we want to put this zipatone down, 60 LPI is going to be 60 lines per inch. That's what LPI stands for. DPI is dots per inch. So we want this pattern, because if we set this, let's see, rasterize. If we rasterize this page down, it bakes it, right? So now these dots are permanently baked in. They don't go anywhere. They don't move. They don't change. It doesn't matter what we do. And if we were to take this page and resize it, change canvas size, and then change to centimeters, and we make the width, I say 12? What did I say? What did I say? Oh, yeah, 12. 12 centimeters wide. Oops. We want to change the image resolution. Right? To 12. Right? And we change it then to what it actually is at print, which is 300. So this would be like if I were to print this page. Okay. Now we've muddied up all of our zipatones. They've gotten very muddy. And they're now just all kind of chatter, and they're not clean at all anymore. And that's part of what I'm trying to figure out. The colors still look okay. I mean, as far as here and this goes, but they're not crisp anymore, which means that we are too detailed. 60 LPI is too much. And that's kind of what I'm trying to ascertain here is what's our LPI rating. And by the way, all of this stuff needed to be figured out for all of my past manga as well. So none of this is wasted time either. I really needed to figure this out before. I needed to square this away and never really did. So, Min-Mei. How do we not love Min-Mei? Min-Mei is the best. Okay. So, yeah, before the art goes down on the page, we need to figure out what the relative DPI or LPI is so that it doesn't come out muddy. And let's look specifically at Chang's skin here, because this is where we lose LPI, right? Because this should be about this gradient of, you see what I mean? Now, I mean, this was scanned in, well, let's see, what are we at? So its width is 2809. Let's just take a look at this. Let's take a look at this, right? Let's see where we are here in pixels. So we're not quite where we should be on this. So let's do that in pixels, shall we? See what we get when we go up on pixels. Because maybe it is actually fine. We'll change the image resolution to pixels. And what is this one? 2809. See what happens. Because that's not so bad. Well, no, we still get dots. So that's actually solid. I mean, this is anything we're having a problem with here looks like it's, I mean, the crispness between these two has nothing to do with okay, so this is where math starts to make me aggravated, because now I'm trying to math in my head, and I know that this is not one of my top 10s, and I'm not really good at it. So, because what we need to do is figure out what a dot distance is between these two in each, because like this guy is going to be 12 inches or 12 centimeters by 18 centimeters. We know that. We know that's the size. In fact, we could probably confirm that in centimeters. Yeah, 12 by 18, right? Or 11.89 by 17.97. Okay, so we know that that's what we're at. So it is 12 by 18. At 600 dpi. Because I scanned them in as high as I possibly could with optical on my scanner. My scanner optically scans in at 600. It can raise it to 800, but that's interpolation. And it's already kind of fuzzy here anyway. Like there, and there is pretty crisp. So, and that actually does. Look at that. I mean, the dots don't seem to change much. So maybe 60 LPI is exactly what we need. I mean, I guess that makes some sense that the default mode of, except that the only problem we've got is that this page is 8.5 by 11, which is not, I mean, that's 3 times the size. So as long as my manga pages, let's go ahead and open the master manga page and make sure that we're correct on this. Guy the artist. We'll bring up our master page 25 minutes later. All right. Okay. Yeah, so down here it's saying tone to 60 LPI, reduced 55%. Final is 14 by. Well, I feel like the size there is not right. So this tells me a whole bunch of vital information for making pages. When I start making actual pages, I use this master file. This master file tells me all of my important critical stuff. For example, if I'm using ink on this page, it already tells me to put it at 20 point. So I have to be here on the ink to make this work, right? And that makes about the right size, right? So, and then what it says here is 60 LPI for tone, which is the default setting for toning things on this page. So the question really is, let's see. I mean, what's the worst thing that'll happen, right? Let's take here. And for the sensibilities of all of the people involved, I will only take the girls on this side, so that there's no nakedity that goes to the other side, to the other page. Right? It, by the way, irritates me that this is something that Facebook will ban me for. Okay. So looking at the file here, you can see that we're actually smaller on the actual page than we were over there on 8.5 by 11, which would have meant that this would have ended up being a markedly smaller problem child here. So let's go on ahead and increase this size to something we can use. So we just pretend like it's a full page piece, like so. And then we punch it with this, right? And we then bring this down, and this should check correctly. So if we take all of this and we say Control-Shift-E and crush everything down to the right size here. Then we say final size 148 millimeters. So we'll change the image resolution and switch it to millimeters. We say 148, which is still 197. I like the fact that it says down here 148 by 197. Well, it's not going to be, because of course that's not the way this all works, because there's more room on either side, but that's okay. It should at least give us something close. Now 1:1, and we'll go to 1:1. Yep. I think that's it, guys. I think we figured it out. Because these dots right here look to be about the same. We'll copy it into the Tonkabon. Yep. Look at that. The dot values are almost the same. Okay. That's it then. So the math on my master page works correctly. Ish. But if you were to zoom all the way out, this is the correct dot pitch. Well, why did we go through all of this? Because if this was too dense of a dot pitch, then we would have ended up with just sludge, and the colors become sludgy and they don't become clean when we get down to print size and print resolution. So we want to make sure that we've squished it down enough that there is enough of a, we want the right dot pitch, because we're working at big view. We're working at the super large size. And I will show you what I'm talking about. So for here, when we're working on our master pages, we're actually working, change canvas size, and I work, of course, at, change picture size, I guess is what we want to do. Change image resolution. We start at this, which is the 11 by 17 size version of these pages, right? At 600 DPI, because I want to work higher and then crush down, because the rule of art always is you start at a larger resolution and then shrink down, because you never want to enlarge. Once you enlarge in raster, you can do it in vector, but you can't do it in raster, and I don't draw in vector. So once you do it in raster at a small size, too small, there's no going back. So once we've done it in too small, that's what it's stuck at forever and ever, amen. So I like to work at 11 by 17 at 600 DPI, right? So that's the largest I think I would ever be able to create. And I will show you what that size looks like. Because over here, we actually have drawing paper at that size. So I'll put this right here. This is an actual comic book page, original Strathboard page, right? So this is a master page. Whenever you do comics, when we do American comics, we start out at 11 by 17. This happens to be a cover on here, and you can actually kind of see the blue line dots to indicate where the title of it goes, and where the imprint goes is right here. So this is where the imprint is, right? And down here is where the barcode goes, so you know to put no art in this zone, right? But this is the traditional size for a comic. It's saying take a break. I'm actually kind of talking around stuff, so that makes some sense. So then the canvas now is 11 inches tall, which is good, but now is the resolution the same? Yeah, okay. Okay, so it is. So this is what it would be if I were to print one of these pages on here, right? So that's part of our thing, is we're trying to kind of ascertain how to print a page that in the final version is only this big, but we want to start out with this big, because if you start out here, there are other really good benefits to starting out huge like this. One is you make a little teeny mistake, the little errors that you're going to get in your lines, they vanish, because by the time you shrink it all down, nobody can see the little errors in the lines. A great example of this would be okay, good. Okay, hang on. I'll send this to Kevin. Thank you. So when you start, I mean, there are multiple good reasons why we do that, but when we're working digital like this, we are already scanned in with a blank sheet of paper. So we start with a blank sheet of paper scanned in. So if we take our large sheet of paper over here, and we go back over to the monitor, we take this large sheet of paper, which we already have right here, and we were to print this out, it actually prints huge. And I actually have a printer whose whole job it is to print in large format. I actually spent extra money to print large format. My pages are not, in fact, and I just now noticed this, we need to change one of the numbers on this. So we're going to go through here because we actually need to work on this. So we will undo. Because something's not right at this point in time. It says 140 by 197 in centimeters, and I've already discerned that this is not the size that it ends up being. It's not 197, it's 18. Now we have to do the math, because this is gutter right here, and this is safe. So our gutter right here is for bleed. So if you have the printer, when they print books, they don't always cut at the exact spot. It could vary by like a millimeter to either side. So when we draw, we don't want to draw past, we do want to draw, but we don't want anything critical or important past this bleed line. Like this would not be a good place to put the knife that's stuck into somebody's back, because if that was where you were going to put it on the page, it could be chopped by the printer. And so you want to be judicious about what you put. I mean, it's a very small thing, but still. On the same token, we want to give enough of an error rate that anything could happen on a print error. And even if it was off by, 2 or 3, maybe a centimeter, it still wouldn't chop off the words. So we have what we call a text safe, which is this zone right here, which we're not supposed to break out of with words, because if you break out of these with words, you end up with words that are too close to the edge of the paper anyway, and it looks uncomfortable. So we don't want to do that anyway. So that's what these lines mean, and they're in what we call non-photo blue, which means that they don't photocopy. So if you were to take this guy and stick him on a photocopier, and just a black and white photocopier, and hit photocopy, this non-photo blue would disappear, and all you would see is this black, and you wouldn't see this yellow, but you'd see this magenta, and so they'd vanish. So there's that. And that's sort of what, giving you kind of a rundown of what the page looks like. Since we're going to be using these pages very soon, we're going to start laying down actual pages here very, very soon. So, but I think these numbers right here are not right, because I feel like the final size here, it says 140 by 197 at 300 DPI, says to reduce 54%. And I don't think that's right. So let's get ourselves a piece of paper. We will take this pad right here. There's a lot of technical stuff to how this works. I think the funniest part is that I got technical on here and lost everybody but Brent. They all just said, yeah, I don't want to get in this, because it's math. My slap ruler. I like this thing. It's one of those funny things that I found, like in the, girls section of art, and I don't know why there's a boys section and a girls section of art, but there is. And all of the stuff that the girls get is so cool. Like, this is all sparkly on the back. It's all sparkly. It's so cool. Why don't I get that? Boys just don't like stuff like that. Yeah. You don't know the right boys. So, we know that the final size is going to be right. So it's 12.5. So 125 is our final size width. And our final height is 18, or 180 millimeters. I don't know where this number 140 by 197 came in, but it did, and I'm going to change it. So we're going to go in here, and the first thing we're going to do is grab this non-photo blue, and we're going to say final size is 180 millimeters by 1.5 millimeters. Like, fine. Swear to God, this thing is the most difficult. We're too dumb to do this the right way. The way this program handles text makes me so mad. 180 millimeters. Ugh. Yes, all text must always be in only black. God. Or do I just have to do this to try to get it to, I have to actually use the wheel. Yeah, I have to use the wheel, which means I have to guess what my non-photo blue is. Jeez. Oh, why me? This is why everything's a different color all over here, is because I have to guess what my non-photo blue is. That's funny. Because it's only defaulting to black. Okay. And we don't necessarily want it to be. So I said reduce 54%. And I feel like that's not the number we needed. So let's take the canvas size and drop it into the actual spot where the bleed is gone. Right? And that's going to trim off everything but the actual page. And then, in order to make this, change image resolution, we're going to go to millimeters, and we're going to say 125 width. And I'm not going to care about the height because it still has all of the bleed on either side. I'm going to take 300 DPI, right? It doesn't have a percentage. Oh, 24%. Right? So we'll double check that by saying image size. And if we say 0.24, it's not quite 2.4, is it? 2.45, 2.44, 2.35. 2.42 and 2.422 and 2.421, 422, or 0.2422. There we go. Math's complete. That gives us the correct proportions, so I can do at any point in time reduce it to the correct size, and all should be fine. So we'll do that. Okay. Get the trim off, and we will fix this. Print. We'll say reduce 0.2422, 24%. There we go. And then hit the X. Reduce 0.2422, 24%. We can take this and put it right here. And since it's what I'm doing on this one, I'm not that worried that it's not the same font or anything like that. That doesn't bother me, because the only person who's going to read it is me, and I don't care enough. So there we go. And we'll just take this and say that, and we'll go and turn those back on. Okay, we've now fixed all of our line printing points, and we've fixed all of our bleed points, and we've got all of the technical stuff down here. Whew, it was a lot of math. It was a lot of stupid. And we will call that confirmed and leave that the hell alone. And I will save it. And it will save down, and all will be good. That was what we need to do. Sorry for coughing right into the microphone. That was brilliant of me. So it was kind of fun, actually, kind of figuring out what we needed to do here on this. Trying to figure out what the math was for everything. I hope that if people ever refer to this episode to figure out how to do manga pages, maybe that's what I should do, is just do a manga page. Like, how to do manga. Start with, what the heck is manga? And what's your resolution for manga pages and stuff. So I mean, in the end, we keep our master pages like this so that we can not have to mess with it. Like, this is the way it should be. Ooh, I should add, so that I don't mess myself up again, because I will. Without trim. And we get to do this again. We get to go through and select it all and then guess what color we're at. I don't know. Like you. Ish. Make that go. Otherwise, I'm going to mess with this again. Right? So it looks like when you deal with, say, doujinshi or tankoban sizes, they vary quite a bit. And so some of them are larger and some of them are smaller. And there's no... For a country that is as precise as the culture is in Japan, it's aggravating how imprecise doujinshi and stuff like that gets. And it aggravates me because I can't get a complete sort of answer on this. However, okay. So if you look over here, we have layout sketch, boxes, refinement sketch, color, texture, and ink. The ink is always the top layer. And usually the way I work is I'll put down the ink and then I'll duplicate the ink stage and then color it put in the flats with the fill tool. And there's a reason behind that we'll go into some other another day when we're actually at that stage. But for right now, what I'm trying to ascertain is when we are dealing with these color codes down here, and they will all be in grays. That's why we went through this whole process of figuring out what the uniform colors were and why we had to come up with a different division color so that it would be a different shade of gray. We want to make sure that I'm not as worried about anything other than when they're in their uniforms on the bridge. You want to be able to tell the line officers from the non-line officers, even though everything we're doing is going to be in black and white. So, like, it's not important to make sure we see what her ribbons look like. It's just important in Zipatones. It's important that this two-tone setup here, which is almost inverted, works so that you can tell that she's in her command colors or in her line officer colors. It's not as clear over here on this side, but I will illustrate the point. If we open in Bellatrix Rising, it's not in Bellatrix Rising, it's on the desktop. When we look at the two uniforms that we just came up with, we've finished these uniforms, we've squared them all away, right? And we've got kind of an idea of what the two characters look like, right? We've got these restricted duty and the line officer sort of things going on here. That does look like a different shade of blue, doesn't it? Does that look like a different shade of blue? It is a different shade of blue. I've done too many things all at once, and we've kind of gotten we've gotten a little out of hand here, it looks like. Okay, let's take a look. I feel like we've gotten kind of out of... Yeah, see, these three colors they don't look the same. Did we just decide that shade of blue was... Oh, I know why. This is the final version where I decided that we had these three colors here. So this was command or line, this was restricted duty, and then this is mission specialist, which is this green, and then medical is white. That's what's happened. We do have the wrong shade of blue, though. For Chang, we totally have the wrong shade of blue, because it should be this shade here. That should be our shade. Which is good, because this light blue wasn't as exciting to me. And I don't mind that the command officers were... Okay. Let's play a little game here, guys. And this game is called What Color? What color is an overlay white? And that's the game we're playing. No. That color. It's really not that much different. There we go. There. Okay, we fixed our stupid division color problem. We need to be decisive about these division colors, I swear. And since this is my definitive sheet for what this character looks like definitively, and we're going to use this sheet from now on for anybody wearing command is going to be doing the same thing. How we're going to do ribbons is going to be the same thing. How we're doing height, weight, everything like that, the whole 9 yards. This is the definitive sheet that defines all of that. So it's very important that I get all my colors squared away. And now that I'm looking at this, I realize that's what this is. And maybe I should have written this on here so that I wouldn't have this problem, right? So would have been useful if I'd done this other way. But, hey, what do I know? So we should actually not do that. Let's do this. Let's just take and make a new layer. And then we'll take this color right here and just put it right there. Right? And then this color right here and put it right here. And why are we using this pen? I don't even like that pen. There we go. Okay. I'm going to take you. I'm going to go like so, and so, and that, and that. I'm going to take you and go meh, 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 meh. All right. And we'll take the pen and we will say medical. And then RDO. Okay. I haven't heard from you in a while, Brent. I'm assuming that you are still somewhere out there. Let's say didn't even bother. I'm just going to block this out. There we go. And these are final. It even says it, line officer color choice final. So these are our final colors. We set this in motion. So I don't know why I'm having issues, but I'm apparently having issues. Because this should then, in tonal correction, hue, saturation, luminosity, take this guy and do this. They all show different colors. Good. That's what I'm after. And if I were to take this entire thing and zip-a-tone it like so, they all look significantly different, which is what we're really after here. Okay, done. Done. Right, because that's white, and that's dark, and that's sort of not as dark, and that's close to the same color. Cool enough. Do not save, because we don't need to. This guy's set up correctly now. This is final cropped, so we'll save you. And we've fixed that problem. There's a lot of, sometimes there's just a lot of, like, I don't want to say busy work. That's not the work. I'm not talking about busy work necessarily here. Boy, my music seems loud. I'm hearing the music coming out of my microphone too. That's even funnier. So it's not a bunch of, it's, we've got to figure out, we don't want to go to print and then see the print come back messed up to realize that that's what's wrong. We don't want it to go out to print and then have it come back after you've spent, let's say, $200 on a print run to find out you really should have fixed this in the first place. So we don't want to do that. No, we're not going to touch the Tunkelbond. Okay. We now have you delete and you delete because we don't need to put those in at all. And you delete. So now we're back to Chang. She's got all of her critical information. These are the grays that are kind of going on. Let's double check her color codes here. Now we'll go in and let's fix the color codes. For one, we're not messing with her base color codes at all. And this doesn't need to be in here because it's the same color as that. So this becomes, this will go for this, and we'll switch to, because that actually is my airborne fonts. And we will say body color. And we'll drop that down to something reasonable, guys. Sure, there's a lot of drums in this. It's starting to actually kind of bother me. Oh, it's almost over. Well, that's good, because that drum thing is starting to bother me. Hey. Body color on here. We're actually going to turn that off and then control. Check E. Turn them on. You got a little peek in the upper right hand corner there. Because now we're looking at how this all works. So I should have left the 11 by 17 open. Not critical, I don't think, at this point. Because what we're going to do, now we have the colors set properly here. I'm going to go up one layer, new raster layer, and this one's going to be multiply. And 33%, which is the way we do this. Okay. Go over here. And we need to kind of go in here, and we just need to put in this so that it knows what the division color is. And I'm not worried about it being sort of imperfect, because all I really need to do is be able to come over here with a sample tool and nab that color. So that's it. Okay. So now we're going to take this and we're going to render her colors in black and white so that we know what they look like, because this is probably very different than it was originally, but I want to make absolutely sure that we have the correct combinations of colors. Some things we're going to manually change. So I'll show you what we're talking about here in a second. First things first, let's take this tonal correction. We're going to take it like this and drop the saturation down. That gives us only black and white. Okay. But there's some things that will always be like the way it goes. Like, for example, her eyes here show a slight, just a very slight difference between those two. And I don't think I will ever not draw her eyes in black and white as just black dots, because her eyes are so dark that, you know, when we look at them here, you can see that there's definitely a brown color to her eyes. Her eyes are definitely brown. But in black and white, it gets to the point where it's insignificantly different. Her eyes are effectively black, which is true of a lot of Asians and a lot of Africans. So I'm not 100% sure I care about this. And there's a couple of reasons for this. When we do the uniform and stuff like that, some of this stuff is coming up as a registered zip tone. We don't want it to be registered necessarily, right? I mean, if we look at, say, for example, we go in here in Zipatone, her white uniform has a tone on the shadow side, no tone on the light side, right? But you can see, because the scalia is actually using this color up here, there's a tone in her eyes, which is just making her eyes look like it's got dots in them, right? We don't want dots, right? We don't want dots in her eye. So when I deal with scalia, which is the whites of your eyes, so to speak, in color, we've got it in a different way than we do in black and white. I don't think Colton's going to make it. I'm just saying, right? In color, we actually kind of want that gray in here for these eyes, because eyes are never quite white. And that gives us the ability to put a reflection in here that shines off of the corners of her eyes in white. And like it gives us the ability to do 2 of these on this, but it's like her pants aren't perfect black either for that same reason. But when it comes to Scalia, I think I'm going to then discern by default that the eyes don't get a color change of this. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to make the bottom part that color, and then I'm going to take this, and we're going to just go on ahead and neutralize the rest of this so that there is only a shade to it. And that's the way it's going to be. And the same thing we're going to do with her eye. I'm going to take this, and we're going to just take them and make them all black so that I'm not tempted. If we're really close on her eye, then maybe, and actually maybe I shouldn't do that because you're right. Because, well, you're right. Haha, you said something. You didn't say anything. If I'm really close on her eyes, because really we need to take this color here, make one of these in it for her pants and for her uniform top. And we're going to make this uniform top and bottom, because this is going to be so. Because I don't want to forget the real reason we're doing this. Because they're not true, and they're not true white. It's this color here, which is her hair color and her skin color, which actually, or her hair color and her scalia color, which actually we should probably do the same thing above or below here too. So we should take these guys and do the same thing. Copy and then paste. And that way we don't have to, because we're going to have that uniform for everybody else as well. And so we need to, okay, we need to deselect. And turn that back on. We'll do the same thing here. And we'll take you. There. And that's probably the most accurate version of this we've had so far. Oh, man. It's complicated. It's complicated doing all of this. We have to be very careful. And I'm notoriously bad at careful. And this is kind of an important thing. I'm notoriously bad at careful. As you can see, we already had an error earlier when I had the wrong shade of blue, which I have already decided on my shade of blue. I've already decided what it is, and I know what it is, and I don't need to worry about it. And actually, it occurs to me that Mayrel probably isn't a non-line officer. She's probably a mission specialist because she's a pilot. And so she should be wearing that light green as her division uniform, unless she were to stop being the ship's pilot specifically, because that's like a specialized thing, is being a pilot. So very specialized. So she should be in the light green. Now that I think about it, she should be totally in that light green. Let's look at that and see what happened. What happens if we have her in the light green? Eh? Come on. Here. Yep. She should be in that mission specialist color. I picked Mayrel for that, but the truth is she should be in the mission specialist color because she's the pilot. You didn't see that because I had switched to this monitor. There we go. I moved Mayrel over into mission specialist green instead of being in restricted duty officer purple. If you were to make these into the colors of Star Trek, what you have here is the blue that you see on line officer. That would be Star Trek's yellow or red command, the command color. The purple that you're seeing there, that dark purple, would be their operations color, yellow or red, depending on whether you're in the old series or the new series. So yellow for TNG. And then the green would be the sciences blue that we had, and then white would be medical, which would be just doctors. And the only reason I changed all those colors around, of course, is because for me, I want them to look good in black and white, since my manga is going to be in black and white. So I need to, these are a couple of things that we're going to have to figure out. Also, we're going to have to figure out what these look like in Copic colors. So we got some small little bits of, just housekeeping that we have to do here. I can get it switched from RGB to HSV. Can't get a web color on it, though. That's all right. I wonder if I can get... We can get Copic hex codes. Got a Copic color picker. Wow. So I'm not going to be able to easily figure out. No, I don't want to sign up for your email. Go away. I just want to figure out whether I want to figure out how to get which color goes where, because I'll ultimately have to color these things in, right? So let's figure out what colors we've got. It sure would be nice if Copic had a way to translate. It doesn't really, does it? Translate RGB. I mean, I guess this is close enough that I can just figure it out, but I'm going to figure it out offline. There's no reason to drag you guys through Copic colors. And we'll come up with codes for these things, because here's the thing. When I go to draw these pages and we ultimately want to, say, paint them or color them, we're going to want to make sure we have the colors matched with Copics, so that if I use a Copic color, it's the correct shade of color. And things like when it talks about like the master blue that you're seeing here for the uniforms, this blue that everybody's uniform is, the one that I think is the perfect shade of blue. When we talk about that color of blue, I'm going to want to make sure that I have a huge marker for that, because there's going to be a ton of things that are blue, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to print the page out. We're going to print it at like 8.5 by 11, so that it's roughish, so that it has sort of a rough paint look. And I like that. I like that look. As I've often said, my preferred art style is very clean, sharp line work with chaotic colors. So either colors that are watercolor, which is so chaotic and all over the place, or in Copics, which are also varying degrees. We're going to do a couple of those here in a minute or two, and I will figure those out. We're in a couple of days here. There's discussion about me being at the Rocky Mountain Cons Anime Fest. It's only the tables are actually relatively cheap, and I think that's a great thing. So I think I will head over and maybe table there or something. So that sounds like a thing. So we'll be doing that. That'll also get me a little bit lined up to deal with Wicked West Con, because I'm not 100% sure what the heck I'm going to do with Wicked West Con. the table's already purchased, so I'm going to be there. There's no way around it. And I just don't know what stance I'm going to be at, what I'm going to have on the table, what's available, what will people want. So we'll have to kind of figure that out. That'll be what we do. Maybe I will have little teeny 1/700th scale versions of the kitty wake for that, because we've got the printer, and the printer can print, and we can print like 20 of them or 30 of them and then just have them on the table and sell them for $2 a piece or whatever. Somebody wanted to swing longer and couldn't, so somebody is very angry, which I've been down that road. So anyway, there we go. It is now the end of this work day. I will see everybody tomorrow. I hope that Colton didn't message the group and say, "What's the link again?" Because that would be funny if that was what was going on, because I'm not monitoring Facebook at this moment. Not private messages in Facebook anyway. So I'm seeing. Yeah. Yep. He made breakfast and then he went to sleep. It's fine by me. Okay. Shrug. I just work here. There you go. So, okay, guys. Well, I think I'm pretty much done for the day. I'm not done for the day. I'm going to sit there and dink with Copic marker colors for the rest of the day. But there's no reason for you guys to hang out with me while I sit there and search through Copic color markers and figure out which Copic color matches these colors in their. Well, it is like 2 minutes to 11. I'm gonna have to go for a walk with Alex here and walk around the park so that we can get the walking thing going. Anyway, the long and the short of what we did today was I've decided that Mayrel probably is a mission specialist, so she's probably in green. And I will, and not actually as a restricted duty officer, or what we would call probably operations in Star Trek's world, because she's a pilot and therefore she's specialized. That makes sense. The next step for me is to identify these colors in Copic and make sure I have the Copic pens so that when we color the pages, I can do the pages in color and the correct colors. So that's the next step for me, is to get that going. But there's no reason for you guys to hang out with me while I do that. It's just a ridiculously long process, which involves searching this swatch tool until we find the matching color for everything. Imagine that. It's not going to be any fun. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you guys don't need to hang with me on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and just head on out on this one, and then that'll be fine. So anyway, I will do my walk and I will see you all tomorrow, and we'll work on Mayrel tomorrow and get her character sheet up so that she has the same sort of sheet as this guy, which is completely done and ready to go. And by this guy, I mean this guy, who is completely ready to go, and all of my colors are set correctly and everything looks like it's correct on this. So I think we're ready to roll this one out the door. Make sure that Chang is set up in Daz Studio correctly, so she's actually 150 centimeters tall, and not, as one might imagine, like 7 feet tall or something ridiculously weird, because whatever, I don't know, never understand. Anyway, so we will do that, and I will see you all tomorrow on the morrow. And until then, you know how it goes. Keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.
Computer, good night.